Morning, people who are involved in the Webflow times Slater game challenge. Today, I'm joined by Witt. Jared will shortly join, no doubt. In fact, speaking of the devil, he's just entered the room.
Hey,
Jared, welcome. We're actually currently on the live stream, so it's great timing. And today, we will be doing a little bit of troubleshooting for anyone that's in the chat now. I assume you're here partly because you might have a little problem or something a bit sticky with your challenge entry that you might want some expert help with. You are in the right place if so. And so if you are here in the chat and you're watching and you're like, hey, I've got a little problem or whatever, put it in the chat and we can start talking about that. But Witt has also made a game as well, so we might be doing a little bit of a demo of that. And there's also some updates for Slater that maybe we could also discuss as well. So there's a few little bits and bobs to cover today. Is there anything I missed, guys?
I think it'd be cool to see the live games.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's actually start with that. That's a really good idea, Jared. I'm going to put them in the chat. That might be the best thing, and then we could also bring them up on the live stream as well. So there's currently 4 games that have entered. We've got a really fun Whacker Webflower, which is actually kind of weird because I woke up today and I clicked on the link just thinking, oh yeah, whatever. And then there's my face that people are whacking currently, which
how does it feel? Like, is it like
it hurts.
Thing?
Getting a hammer to the face is kind of painful, if I'm honest.
It sounds like it would be.
It's kind of like a mallet as well. It's a big wide thing. It really gets my head. But it's great fun. So that's from Dylan Harricks. There's a really awesome entry called Arrow Hero by JP Dionisio. That is a name that I have said a few times on these streams. He is absolutely killing the competition entries every single time. And he's done a really fun arrow game, which you can click the link on. It's in the chat just now.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so good. So good. Let me find the other 2 links. I'm going to screw up his name because it's a beautiful French name and I can't speak French. But Thibault, that was a terrible attempt. I'm sorry.
Sounded great.
From Digipop Agency. He has got a really cool storytelling game that I'm about to find the link and put it in the chat. Actually, Jared or Witt, do one of you guys want to share your screen while I'm just getting the other links? And you could we could actually have a look at any of the games that are currently in the chat. Does that sound good?
Sure.
I also want to see Jared's game.
Oh, what? Jared, have I seen your game?
It's in the works still, but
if it's not ready,
we definitely should. I was thinking we could troubleshoot some things that I can get some ideas from everyone.
Yeah, sure. And Witt as well. Put your game in the chat because yours is really cool.
Oh man, mine's like a third finished, but I'll throw it in there.
Come on.
Yeah. Little violent, but all in good fun.
Yeah, and there's a few people that are working on games that I'm super excited to see. By the way, Andrea Morgan's working on one. Jeff's working on one. He hasn't shown me anything yet, Jeff McAvoy, and neither has Andrea. And I bet you they're both really good.
Yeah.
Mael Rafini, who does 3JS, WebGL, he's like wild at 3D stuff. So I reckon his entry will be really cool. Not to put any pressure on him. If you're watching, sorry, Mael. But yeah, there's a few awesome other entries that will come in soon.
I get some nice audio on this one. A little hard to live stream it, but
Yeah, actually, it might be a bit jumpy on the live stream, but let's see. So I've just added your screen to the chat there. So this is Arrow Hero by JP.
I've never been that good at the hero games. But
I love it.
So crazy. It's so
hard
cool to see the results of, like, you know, Slater being used in Webflow now in this like really fun dynamic manner. It's so cool.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'd love to see kind of the JavaScript he's using to solve that piece.
It is very, like, it gets very hard very quick. Like I was like, oh man, this is easy, and then oh no, this is not easy.
Let's see.
Oh, cool.
JP's in the chat right now. Actually, he just said you can use. Let me put it on the screen.
Okay.
You can use a combination of WASD, WASD, and arrow keys.
JP, I got to tell you, man. When I got the link to this, I spent I think I spent like half an hour messing with it because I was immediately just like, whoa, this is so. I was a big fan of Guitar Hero, even though it's never very good at it. But yeah, it's very, very clever, and I really like the way you approached it.
Using classes. This is a master level JavaScript here.
Whoa.
Like your JavaScript's extremely well written, just like organizationally, if nothing else. I'd love to hear how you approach this. I would imagine Slater.JS is helping out a good bit, unless you're already a master JavaScript developer.
JP actually came on a spotlight session a few weeks ago now, but we'll have to get him on again, along with actually the other people that have entered with their game challenges, because I'd love to dive into, you know, like how they even came up with the ideation for the game, and then how they've, you know, how much they've used Slater to actually write the code for them versus, you know, how, you know, do they actually just know a lot about code and have manually written it, or, you know, how have they approached the project? So yeah,
I mean, it looks great.
JP, I just saw your comment that I believe it.
If anyone has any things that I know that, you know, your idea might not be fully baked. If anyone's in the chat who's watching who might want some help as well, but you know, this session is also a little bit of troubleshooting for anyone that needs that support. So if there's anything that's a little bit sticky that they're struggling with or whatever, feel free to put it in the chat as well.
Look at those scores.
Yeah.
Jeez.
JP, how do you save this data? I wonder how you're saving this, because it requires a database, I imagine. So.
And actually, Dylan Harricks has a leaderboard as well in his Whack-A-Mole game. So it'd be interesting to see how they've both approached that.
Xanapost, cool.
I've never used that. That's that's cool.
Yeah, very nice. And so I'll play video games once in a while. Like I've been getting sucked into, I believe it's called Snake on iPhone. And I feel like I'm pretty good. And then I look at the leaderboard. Like, oh, it's gonna take 4 years of like full-time effort to get on the leaderboard. So
to answer your question about the database, JP says he's using Xanopost.
Yeah, put this up here. I've never played with this, but looks cool.
Yeah, Xano is really, really powerful.
So
then
I
you could
showed
turn-
this earlier. I don't think my screen was shared out yet, but maybe anything else with it? Arrow Hero we want to bring up?
No, I mean, I think we'll do it. We'll have to get JP on if you're up for it, JP, to kind of do a deep dive on your project. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to say is that we talked about this a little bit on the last stream, but I mean, this is like, it's a pretty simple game, right? But it's like very engaging because you get sucked in and then it gets harder and harder. I don't know. So anyway, I'm a big fan. So awesome stuff, JP.
Yeah, definitely. So here was this one.
Dylan Harricks hitting people over the head with a hammer.
It's decently hard.
It's like, wait a minute.
Not that I'm great with my pad.
Seems like it might be easier to use like a trackpad, maybe. I don't know. Or
I happen to know Dylan's got like one of those really nice mouse.
like a Logitech.
I was going to say mouses, but I think I'm meant to be using the word mice there. He's got a really nice mouse. Yeah, and he just like, I've seen him in the co-working space. He just flies around with it. So maybe that's it. I've got a little trackpad on my laptop, and it's terrible for this game.
So here we have the code. It's surprisingly little code. We're not using third-party library. I don't know if he's using Xano. Looks like this might be where he's saving, or at least getting the leaderboard data.
So for anyone that's watching, just wondering like what you're talking about, Jared, essentially what you're saying is that any of the data that's being saved once people go onto one of these games needs to be saved in some kind of database. So that might be Airtable or Xano or whatever, but that wouldn't be saved in Slater.
Yeah, it requires a database of some kind.
Yeah. So if you guys are currently watching this and are thinking about ideas for your game, if you're thinking about a leaderboard, which is obviously a really dynamic way of getting people interested in continuing to play the game, because naturally they're competitive, right? They're like, oh, I'm bottom of the leaderboard with that, I'm going to try it and play the game again to get to the top. So it's quite an interesting way of thinking about the game after you've made the game. Could you have some kind of leaderboard element or whatever? But it does require a little bit of extra thinking, because you are going to need some kind of database.
Yeah, and once you start talking about a database, then you're a developer. So you're kind of getting past the no-code developing. Maybe this is a pretty easy plug-and-play way of saving data.
I've used Xano before. It is actually quite easy to use. They've got a lot of really useful videos as well. So it's quite a good method of saving database stuff.
So I haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah, me neither.
This is, I'm going to mess up his name again on the stream. I'm so sorry.
How do you spell it?
It's, okay, that's another hard question, and I'm going to mess that up as well.
Oh.
Thibault. You're not meant to pronounce the T at the end of French.
Thibault.
Thibaut Legrand. Legrand. Thibault Legrand.
Yeah, Thibault Legrand. Yeah.
I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm sorry if you're watching this, Thibault.
You got to put some links on your game to get some credit.
Yes.
That's nice. He's got the sound, but also the dropping through time. I was actually thinking of doing something like this for and interacting with ChatGPT.
Oh. This is like my favorite kind of game. So I don't know if you guys remember, like, I mean, I'm kind of old, but the old Sierra like King's Quest games and Space Quest games that had like a typing component to it, and it was very like narrative driven. And I don't know, this is super cool and it's beautiful. I wonder if Midjourney was used to generate any of the visuals. I wish he was on. I'll ask him.
I think this thing is here. That's sugar.
Yeah, we'll call it Sugar.
I've just put his Twitter bio in the chat. So if you want to DM him, in fact, I should probably put everyone's Twitter bios in the chat.
What am I getting wrong, guys? Drop below the 3 necessary items to create fire.
See, I struggle with this as well, and I actually looked up what I was like. How do you even make fire? I had to look it up, but I don't know.
Oh, you have to have the elements. So that might be so you need the elements to make fire. Yeah, that might be like you need flint, which you got.
Yeah, surely the
and
two.
I think the pile of powder is tinder.
It's actually sand.
Oh, it's sand. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there you go.
I'm cheating here.
Oh, hey, man. I mean, you know, we got to use all the tools available to us, right? Like,
you don't make fly with blueberries, do you?
Inspector.
I have no idea what Amadou is, but I'm guessing they're some sort of mushroom. To
create
fire. So you need wood. You need wood.
Some char-grilled sirloin steak.
Need the stick and the flint.
While we're working this out, guys, if anyone in the chat has the courage to share their game, even if it's half baked, if you're watching this and it's like, you know what, I'd really love it if I could get a bit of help troubleshooting something, feel free to drop it in the chat, guys.
Also, the sound design on this one is beautiful. I'm sorry, Jack, I don't mean to talk over you, but the sound design is fantastic. It's very immersive.
I gotta imagine this is it. I wonder if there's a bug in the game. What's a silex? Flint. Yeah.
Look at this live stream. We're learning French, playing games.
I wonder if I'm supposed to.
Do you like try to strike them off each other? I wonder if it's like maybe the hit area is responsive. Maybe, let's see. So once they're in there, what if you press enter?
Let's cheat a little bit more. Okay, so we're jQuery UI. I'm assuming that's the drag and drop. Let's see. Primordial fire check, screen size. I don't speak French.
What's it say? I speak a little. Get the elements.
Okay, so if we need wood. What else am I missing? So silex, wood, and let's cheat a little bit more. So if we go to sources, what's open here? Let's go all the way to the bottom. So the primordial fire. So this is going to run on drop. We're going to do something. So there we get the data name for wood. Let's see, this should be an array, I assume. Hatchet selects wood. Good.
In there.
So we need this. This was the, okay, so it looks like you need not, this is probably too big. So we need this one.
Need the mushrooms? Oh, it worked.
Did it work?
Yeah, the mushrooms did. But I actually added the mushrooms with the wood still in there.
So where are you seeing it work?
I just had it work on my end. So if I go, I'm just starting over, but I'm grabbing. You don't necessarily need to, but just put the wood, the flint, and the mushrooms. Well, strangely, now it's not doing it.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Very clever. So we're obviously not primordial experts. I imagine the mushrooms are kind of the early tinder. You probably already have a rock right there that you could use for your flint, so you don't need the steel. I don't know. But
I love this music.
yeah, but yeah, I'll try to beat this game.
Yeah, I love a puzzle game. There's a game, it's a mobile game called Room, or The Room, and it's got like 4 different iterations of it, maybe even more at this point. But it's literally just a series of puzzles, but it has this story that you advance through as you complete these puzzles, and it is super fun. So if you ever have like a long flight or just a few hours to kill, it will kill those hours in a very, very satisfying way. So
awesome.
So here's our game here. So awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
So here's our other one. This one's very simple. It's Yars, I believe.
Yeah.
And if you watch his video, I don't know how much time he spent writing his prompt, but his prompt is like perfect, and it gets the exact result that he needs. So
on the first try?
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, and then he decides he wants to save like game wins. So he reprompts it, and that reprompt works perfectly on the first try too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's about probably the best prompting I've seen. So just very meticulous in explaining exactly what he wants. He explains like the different classes that should be used, so that it just does it perfectly the first time.
Can I just say on this point as well, if anyone's like trying to make something super, super ambitious for the competition entry, like you don't need to have a crazy ambitious game entry to make something just really engaging and original. Like Witt just talked about this puzzle element. Think about storytelling element. Music, quite a simple thing to incorporate into a game, just to have some kind of backing track or whatever. But like Dylan's had these little sound effects. There's some really like fun, simple things that you can do without necessarily trying to make something insanely crazy for a game entry. So just to say that. And then to Jared's point there, he's talking about linking the class name in Webflow and being super, super specific about what that class name is, and then the function that you want, how you want Slater to actually affect that. So the more precisely you prompt Slater and prompt it in little incremental bits, so ask it to do one thing, great, next thing, great, next thing, the more precise you are, the better the effect is going to be on Slater. I'll actually put this video that Yaz has done in the chat as well, because I think he really illustrates this point well.
Yeah, he's using the Webflow Designer app as well, so it's cool to see that.
Yeah, if anyone's been living under a rock on this chat as well, Slater is in the app marketplace. So you can actually open, obviously, Slater within the designer and do that. Can just use it on a separate tab as well, obviously, if you prefer, because there's obviously a bigger bigger surface area, bigger screen, but you can do that within the Webflow designer as well.
So if you've got a game, I'd love to see it. But I can show mine real quick.
I mean, I got the beginnings of a game. I'll share it.
Stop screen sharing.
So let's see.
While Witt's pulling that up, guys, I feel like I'm just saying this over and over, but if you do want any troubleshooting, feel free to put it in the chat as well. We want to help you guys get the best entry you can possibly get, and we don't want you to feel like you're working away on your own without any support. So feel free, put something in the chat. We're here to help. Also, you can message us on Slack, DM on Twitter, whatever. We're here to help, okay?
Can you see my screen?
That's my fault. I haven't yet added you to that. So let me.
Cool.
Let me do that.
I took half an hour last week. As anyone that joined the stream last week knows, I was trying to recreate this and had some technical difficulties. But I basically wanted to recreate Duck Hunt. Oh,
sorry, my bad.
Oh, it's all right.
Technical problems. Sorry, carry on.
And I got kind of lazy. I had a bunch of other stuff I was working on. So instead of using ducks, I just grabbed the UFO emoji. The gist of it's the same, though. They come up and they have erratic patterns, and you're trying to knock them out of the sky. This was my dog that I threw in there to make it as.
Are these all emoji?
Yeah, every single thing. Grass. The grass actually isn't, but all the clouds are. And so I'm just changing the inner text to the different emojis based on.
So it's an actual emoji. It's not even
like
an image of the emoji.
Right. It's just the emoji itself. It's actual text. So that's why you see the selection thing come up every now and then. Sometimes they get stuck. They get really fast, and then there's like a remnant actually on here of what we were doing last week. That if 10 of them get by, which is about to happen, usually happens when we get to about 20 because they're so erratic and fast. Then we trigger an interaction in Webflow that is like partially complete. Also, yeah. So heading. All right, cool. That's the game over screen though. But that interaction is completely in Webflow, and I'm using JavaScript to grab the element, trigger the click event, and then fire the interaction. So,
what is your strategy for making it consistently more difficult?
I just increment the speed and the frequency with which they shift. So I decrease the frequency with which they shift paths. Mm-hmm. I increase the frequency that they come out based on checking the score. I can show you actually. So if I go into my super secret game project, if you look, what I'm doing, you can see all my prompts over here too, but the gist of it is I have a couple of things. So I start the duck speed at 1. I start the interval at 3,000, and that's basically the starting interval for producing new UFOs. They're all still labeled ducks because that was my intent, was like actually make them ducks, but they're not. They're emoji. I'm also doing some stuff here, so you can actually see in the code I've got emojis that are populating the inner text. So in theory, if you didn't have the emoji font available on a Windows machine, it might not render exactly the same. It might just be squares. But again, I think I did all of this in under an hour and just kind of then had to do client work. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah. Witt, can you show us the prompts as well? Because I think it's always interesting to see, like, how much did Slater do this versus Witt do this?
So Slater gave me the bones of it immediately. Let's see what our first ones were. Please help me. So the first prompt was, please help me recreate the game Duck Hunt using JavaScript. I want the mouse to serve as the gun. And that was it. And from that, I was able to get some HTML that included some CSS for the container, for the little duck elements, things like that. Initially, everything I was working with were shapes. So everything was a square div. All that happened when you clicked one was it just disappeared, and that was it. And so from there, I started to refine the prompt. So I wanted to have a class instead of an ID. So I changed the game container to query selector instead of get element by ID. And then I started to do things like, so this is the longer prompt, right? So it's taking the original code. I'd like this code to make ducks with a smooth movement. Originally, it would just place them and they would kind of just tick into different places, which actually made them harder to hit because you couldn't even see where they were going to go. But it also wasn't much fun. So, and then on click, I only want to remove a duck, not add one. The initial code would just produce new ducks each time it was clicked. And then I said, I want to add a new duck every 5 seconds with random smooth movement in a zigzag fashion. And then sometimes what I'll do is feed the entire code that it's produced back into it so it can reference that full code and say, okay, I need to tweak here and here and here. And then it'll make the updates. And then we've got the ability to add at the system prompt level now in Slater. And I believe this is for all paid accounts, but I might be wrong. But I think in the system prompt, I think we all have access to the system prompt, but you can specify.
We all don't. It's a beta feature.
So oh, never mind. Sorry, beta feature.
If you want it, you can
it's coming.
Talk to us. But
the other thing you can do is instead of setting a system prompt, it's not quite as effective, but you can also say, please, when I ask a question, return the full code. Because a lot of times what I'll do is just feed the code back in over and over again, the complete code, and then copy the whole block and drop it in because I'm not trying to look through all the lines to find specific places.
So when you are prompting with the AI, it's got that entire chat history. So in theory, you wouldn't need to re-copy that in there.
Yeah.
The video that we were just looking at that Yars does, he uses a line that's something like, I forget what he says exactly, but reuse the code that you provided before. And
yeah.
It does a great job of just using the same code with the updates.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm not saying that mine's even the right way to do it. I'm just telling you how I do it. There's probably better ways to do a lot of this. So then I added some stuff like, okay, when I hit a duck, I'd like for it to explode. So it set up the function for that. And then what I wound up doing was having that explosion, basically having that explosion interpreted in my code here so that when that was detected, it would change the inner text to be the boom emoji. So literally everything is just switching text that is just based on an emoji character set.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it keeps it easy when you're a developer, you don't want to have to necessarily create your own imagery and
exactly.
Yeah.
So. But I'm seeing some of the stuff that other people have done with their imagery. It's like amateur hour over here. So,
but it's cool that you can just use an emoji. Like you know, you can just do that. And if you're going for like a kind of, I don't know what the word is, maybe like a kind of, I don't know, 90s game feel. Maybe that's the aesthetic that you might want to have, right?
I mean, you think about like emoji aren't necessarily like a sprite sheet, but you can do things like transform, like horizontal transforms. Like, let me share one more time. I can show you because with the dog, what I was doing is that when the dog gets to the edge of the screen, it flips. So it's basically doing a scale transform to -1 to have it go the other direction. So if you think back on an old game like, oh wait, you're not seeing my screen, are you?
Damn it. Sorry, that's my bad.
That's all right. That's all right. So when it gets to the edge over here, or I guess over here, yeah, then it's going to flip just like that. And so if you think about like the old games, like the old NES or arcade Donkey Kong basically in the original version just was one avatar that they mirrored. So like when it was doing its thing, it was just kind of like doing that. And so what that means, like you could take, a gorilla emoji build some scaffolding with some of the pieces and emoji and whatnot, and then use like banana emojis to throw down to a character who was navigating up. So in theory, you could build the whole game with emoji, which would be kind of cool. Maybe, I don't know.
Cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to circle back to something that Witt said there, guys. He started with a simple prompt, got the bare bones, and then worked off that and iterated. So I know that you're all a lot smarter than me in the chat. I can see a lot of clever people, but don't expect it to necessarily be like Yars, where he wrote like the perfect prompt and got the perfect code, because there are going to be like multiple prompts to get multiple functionalities working in Slater, but you can build upon it. And remember, as Witt just did there's the chat archive feature, right? So you can go back, see all the prompts that you've asked Slater, and you can kind of get older bits of code that for a fact works, and then build off that if you find yourself going in the wrong direction. I've done this before where I'm like prompting and it's like, yay, this is all working, I'm loving my life, and then suddenly it's like, oh shit, something's going wrong, and then I keep iterating and I just make a mess of it, and then I need to go back. There's also the screenshot feature that Jared has added as well. So if you've got something good going, you can just screenshot that, save that, and then you can obviously just go back to that as well if you need to. So yeah, I'm no expert at all, but I've found just doing incremental bits of code with Slater works a lot better than trying to hit a home run straight out the park.
I've never had a first prompt be the thing that I needed. And because Yars has, I would love to get him on in some form or fashion to give some insight into how he approaches prompting. Because really, like, that's what so much of this stuff is. It's about, you can almost think about it as like single person requirements gathering, and you're gathering requirements from yourself with the AI, because it's all about like definition and specificity. So like, what do you want to do? What are the real details of what you want to do? And if you got all those out of the gate, that's awesome. It's never happened for me. So
yeah, I kind of think AI is like this crazy strong robot, like a transformer. But the transformer's not going to do anything good for you unless you know what you want the transformer to do,
right,
to a certain extent, right? So that's why the more specific idea you have is, and the more you've like set up class names properly and the Webflow project and stuff, the more you can be like, okay, Slater, I want you to, perform, I don't know, a kill the duck function when, class name of duck is, you see what I'm
totally
saying? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Jared,
I've been using it. Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I've been using it to just brush up on my familiarity with JavaScript concepts, because I'll say, I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm trying to get it to do specifically, but I say this is the challenge that I'm trying to figure out. What are some ways I could approach that? And even at that level, it's super helpful. And the other bonus is that it does a really good job of explaining why you might take different approaches. So, beyond just the prompting, getting the thing back, putting that into your code and having that hook up to Webflow, it's super useful as an education tool to just get familiar with conceptual approaches of how you might solve a specific problem. So,
yeah, couldn't agree more. Like, yeah, so just to say as well, like, the more specific you are, the more you can get Slater to do stuff for you. But like Witt just said, you might have like a compass direction of where you want to go, and then Slater will be like, do you mean this? And you're like, yeah, that is actually what I mean. And then you can kind of have that little bit of a conversation with your robot friend. How weird is that? Berno has just said AI is a good exercise in communication. If the AI doesn't get it right 9 times out of 10, your communication request wasn't clear enough.
Definitely true.
Feels like the kind of couples therapy, right? Like, it's all about communication, guys. Okay.
It's a feature and a bug, because sometimes I find that I don't want to think through the details. And so I'll give it a more high level prompt and it comes back with something. And then I'm able to like work off of some of its ideas as opposed to my ideas, which I could, yesterday I didn't have anything, but with this call coming up, I wanted to put a little something together. So I've got the start of my own game here.
Sorry. I get really excited. I love this so much. We saw it yesterday when we were on a call, and I was just like, "This is amazing."
So I asked ChatGPT to make a prompts, but it's got this little strong man, and like I didn't have a good conception of what I was trying to figure out. It just kind of came together. I'm interested to actually look at my prompts again, see exactly what we got here. But this strong man will go around your DOM and move things. But I need to work on some of the game mechanics that I want to use for this. It's a fun little concept to start with. You can just go in here, over something, and then move it around. And I was thinking it'd be cool if I could like beat up an element and have it disappear. So that's something I'll
like a paywall.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. So the idea,
not on the Slater app though. Yeah,
I don't know a good way of doing this, but I was thinking I could just have like a copy and paste thing. So you could come into New York Times, let's say. Right now, it's like it's something a developer would have to do because you have to open up the console and then like it's in there. And now I've got my little guy in here, and he's able to go around, and like he destroyed that ad because it's probably an iframe, and this probably doesn't support iframe.
Can we just backtrack a second, Jared? So cool, you are pasting your little man into the code of whatever website you want to, kind of destroy, if that's the right phrase.
Yeah.
And then you can pick up elements, and you've instructed your little guy to say any object.
Yeah, I can run through that code real quick. So because it's all JavaScript, you can paste it anywhere and it will just run. Of course, it's only happening on your browser, not anywhere else. But
imagine if you
that'd be a security issue. Like, there's this little man on the New York Times site for everyone that's just assembling all our pages.
Yeah, you're just like looking at the title.
I'm just saying, man, just to cut the copy paste out, this would be a fantastic Chrome extension.
Yeah.
Actually, that's such a good idea. This could,
I think it could be a good like education resource of learning the DOM and learning HTML and different things.
That's
right
a great
now,
idea, man.
To make things move, I am just using transform. So I'm adding this transform translate. We'll get into this a little bit more, but that's what it allows it to do it. But you can imagine having different tools to do different things with the DOM. So this was my original. To Berno's point, like I didn't really have a good idea, so I'm just going to say something very broad and see how it responds. So I said, I want to create a small figure that marches around a web page using the arrow keys. The small figure should be added to the page on download. Is something, I have to get that fixed, should move when the user is pressing the arrow keys. And so it came back with this, and it was just a red square. So that wasn't very interesting. Here's the initial JavaScript, so pretty simple stuff. Off of that, I said, can you update the figure to be several divs that draw a head, a body, 2 feet, 2 arms. On walk, I want the feet and arms to move. And that's when I got my fun little guy, which I like quite a bit. Like I actually tried improving this by changing different aspects of this, but the original is the best. So, so conceptually, he's just like a interesting, like he feels like a big, strong guy walking. So, I don't know if there's any other ones. So I had an issue with refreshing. So I said, I only want it to happen with the arrow keys. I will admit that one of the problems I have with prompting is like I'll get the original prompt, I'll make a few updates, and then I'll ask some additional prompts, and then I have to go back and like make my updates again. So I need to be better about probably what Witt was doing, where using this original code, like make the updates, and then I can work off of those updates with just the copy and paste, because it is obnoxious to like get a prompt, paste it in there, make a few updates, get another prompt, paste that in there, but then have to make those updates again, if that makes sense.
There's something I've run into too, where if you get it to go down a path, like a prompting path to try something, a lot of times it'll retain the thing that it had gone off on the path for. And so it forgets awareness. That's one of the reasons why I'll put the whole code in there. Because it's like, what I'm usually doing is either going back to a snapshot that I've saved of something that I was like, okay, this is at a good point, and I'll repaste that code in and have it tweak that after I've gone down some path that I didn't like. But I'm sure you could prompt it to say, you know, let's go back before I asked X question and use that code. So
yeah,
there's a lot of nuance to all of it.
So this, I have a figure that moves across the web page on space. I want to get the element under my figure. This would have been hard for me to do, but with the Slater AI, it was that simple. So I'm able to, there's this element from point, which I didn't really know existed, but you just specify what that point is, and then it will get that element. And there were a few bugs with it, like sometimes it would get his arm and his arm would move. And there was a little bit of solving that I did on my own, but if we look at the code, so I had a CSS file that had all of this in there, but because I wanted to copy and paste it into on any page like New York Times, I added the CSS for each of these. And then I've got all these variables. This element under figure is kind of a key thing that I use. So this move container, this is what I did. I said the style transform. I made this move X, move position X and move position Y. So I would have to get where the guy was, and then starting from there, like how much should that element be moving around? So I do a little bit of a calculation down here to get what's that relative amount that the element should move. What else was there? So I have this background blue that I set and remove to let you know that you're moving something. Yeah. It was fairly easy to just like get a direction. And what I do love about AI is like, you can be very articulate and get exactly what you want, but even if you're not articulate, you can get almost like creativity just from conversing with like this unnatural intelligence. So
yeah, we call them happy accidents in design.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit like, you know, the conversation that you might have with your partner and they say, what do you want to eat? And you're like, ooh, this is a testing question because I need to guess what you want to eat is essentially what that question is. And then you say, I don't know, I want to get pizza. And then they say, nah. And you're like, well, you've asked me what I wanted to eat, so I'm just giving you the answer. But if you imagine that, and then you get to a compromise where it's like, okay, we're going to get pizza, and then we're going to go dessert to a different restaurant. If you think about that with Slater and your project, you know, you might say, well, I think I want this. And then they come back with like, you know, something that you might not have even considered that's actually a really good kind of, you know, working through of that idea. So, yeah, as much as it's like great to be super specific, if you've got a super specific idea, Slater can execute that really quickly. But also, if you're trying to ideate, it's kind of good to kind of give you an option or a clear direction to go in if you're just asking more broad questions.
Yeah. But real quick, our next thing we need from Jack is a relationship podcast. So.
I'm like, man, it's very insightful. Like,
yeah, well, you know, I fucking love therapy, guys. I don't know.
My wife's a therapist. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I want to be married to a therapist because
It's
I think that'd
great.
be, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of scary because they can kind of mind read you, I find.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm sure your
I'm a
wife
steel vault.
maybe, yeah. I think
Impenetrable
I'd probably just
fortress.
tell them my deepest, darkest secrets. But
Yeah.
sorry, this session is about Slater, not about me, my insecurities. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We're in the last 10 of the session. So if you guys want any troubleshooting done, feel free to put that in the chat. But I think there's just a lot of gold dust in this session in terms of, you know, how you might think about approaching this game challenge. Some little things that you can do that are super simple that can really elevate how your game appears to the user. At the start, we talked a little bit about the scoreboard. You know, thinking about how we can kind of get people interested in playing again and again the game, and I think that's quite an interesting feature. Storytelling, music. We talked a little bit about how Slater can obviously be like a therapist to you, or it can just do the instructions that you give it. Is there anything else, Jared or Witt, that you think we should highlight in this session in terms of game challenge being, you know, for anyone that's wondering?
He's doing it. He's taking apart Slater. It's so
I would
meta.
just push everybody to give it a try. Like, you don't even have to get to something that you want to share, but like my little guy is pretty fun, and like it kind of like just getting started on something can lead you down interesting paths, learn new interesting concepts. Like I was saying, I don't even know. There were a few different things I think that I didn't really know about. This element from point was one of those. But it does give you a lot of, if you're looking to learn JavaScript, just having a goal and then working towards that goal will provide you a ton of insight and really help you become the developer more than if you were reading docs or whatever else.
Yeah.
One thing I would add too is as people are if you're just getting started, or if you are seeing this later and you have things you need help with or want help with, hit us up on Twitter or hit us up in the Slater Slack channel. I love this stuff. So if there's anything I can help think through or navigate, I would be happy to. So
yeah, we've gotten a ton of new users since we lifted the gate for beta users. I imagine there's a lot of users who are coming in and are confused. We definitely need to add more help screens to Slater. But Witt and I are anxious to talk with you and kind of help you get started writing JavaScript with Webflow.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to say, is that we are building Slater with you guys. It's not just it's not like a top-down thing. It's a very dynamic thing. So, feedback is crucial. And, if you've got a problem, tell us. If there's a bug, tell us. If you guys want some help, tell us. Like, it's all really useful for us to get kind of data points to improve Slater. And speaking about that, I'm actually going to message some of you guys to ask if I can have a quick 15-minute call with you guys, just to ask you how you're using Slater, how you're enjoying it, because it's really, really useful for us to get some kind of sense of how consistently you're using it, what you're using it for, what you've got problems with, what features would you love that aren't there that should be there, etc., etc. So yeah, just wanted to pop that in. Yeah. There's no questions coming in the chat as of yet.
Oh, good.
Which is totally fine. I guess it just means that everyone's got their challenges locked and loaded.
Slater takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, so I mean that makes sense. They're asking Slater the question.
They're asking Slater. Why would they ask humans? Robots are way more efficient. Speaking of as well, if you guys are thinking about game ideas and maybe you're like, I want to take part in this challenge, but I don't even know where to start, ask Slater. You can literally ask Slater for game ideas. That is literally what I did. I was like, hey, Slater, there's this game challenge where I need to build something with you. How can I, maybe think about like recreating a classic game or creating a new one. You can literally copy and paste the challenge like text from Twitter and be like, hey, use something with this. So, you've got no excuse just to dive in, try and make something, whether you want to actually share it in the competition or not. It's just a really good way of, getting in, getting your hands dirty and using it. Andrea says, it means I don't have a specific question. I'm all about chaos. That's
I love that.
That's in reference to me in the chat, just saying if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Andrea's got involved with the last few challenges, sorry, and she makes some really cool stuff. So go check out her profile on Twitter as well if you guys want some clonables where she's made. She's awesome. So thank you, Andrea, in the chat. Yeah, no other questions as of yet. I guess that means that everyone's happy. Is there any final things that you guys want to add? I don't think there's too much point in us sticking around for the last 4 minutes unless there's something you guys particularly want to show or say.
Yeah, no, it's good seeing everyone.
I need some more coffee.
Available.
Yes. Great having you guys in the chat. This is the most we've had on a live stream as well. So massive thanks to you guys. We're moving in the right direction, which is great. Thanks to Witt and Jared for sharing knowledge. Get involved in the competition, guys. You've got nothing to lose. There will be 2 random winners, 2 merit-based winners. That means you could win even if you spend an hour on this and enter the challenge. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. I'm going to end with that. Sorry. A bit intense there.
Oh, I love it, man. I love the intensity and chaos. I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
More of that.
It's just a perfect, messy mix.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
A great challenge.
Okay, see ya.
All right. See ya.
Bye.